Oh, is it? Right. You ready to record?
Wait, it's starting. Yeah. Okay. It's done.
Today we'll be talking about how a rugby coach will use sports and exercise science techniques to coach a professional rugby team before a season.
So our chosen job role is a professional rugby coach, and our aims and objectives are to create a more confident working team to improve performance and therefore hopefully results, and to make them stronger and help or prevent injury.
So I'm going to be talking about sport physiology, so how that helps and aids a rugby team. Sports physiology is the study of how exercise alters the function and structure of the body. So obviously the nature of rugby is a very physical sport and requires a really good level of conditioning, as their bodies go through a lot of stress when taking contact in these very specific conditions. They need a wide range of physical attributes to perform well under these conditions. So, for example, having a good level of strength, agility, cardiovascular fitness, speed and power, these will all help them in their performance and also stop them getting injured as well. To be able to have a good level of fitness within all of these aspects, they need to have a variety of a really good training plan. So this will have a lot of strength and conditioning blocks, as well as skill-based training at the same time, but also incorporating a lot of rest. So, for example, a weekly program could consist of one heavy upper body session, one heavy lower body session, and one full body hypertrophy or conditioning block. So for the conditioning block, it can include a ski erg or a cardio exercise, such as a sled push, but tailored to each specific position. So, for example, a prop would have a sled push because this replicates a scrum, but a second row or back row player who will be jumping in the line-out could do a weighted squat jump, as this will just basically replicate their in-game performance when doing powerful movements and going into game-based scenarios, but as well as doing skill-based work on the pitch, not just in the gym. But also the rest needs to be incorporated, as they're taking a lot of hits and their body needs to be able to recover, and that needs to be incorporated within the program.
Okay, so I'll be talking about how a rugby coach would use sports psychology to prepare for a game or a season. So psychology is defined as, in sport, is extremely important for athletes to have strategies to help them with mental control, as well as performance factors. So sports psychology is the study of psychological factors that influence athletic performance and how participation in sports and exercise can affect psychological and physical well-being of athletes. Sports psychology is also used for overcoming obstacles such as potential injury. So if a rugby player is at a state of mental readiness, this means that they are more likely to succeed and perform well in a game or in training. So having an athlete at a state of mental readiness can potentially mean reducing injury risk and performing at a better standard. Rugby is a very continuous and interactive sport with contacts and collisions. So coaches would describe rugby as needing mental toughness. So coaches must understand that psychological skills of rugby players can initiate peak performance as an individual and as a team. So using different strategies to induce these skills will be beneficial to players as well as teams' overall performance and game outcomes. Rugby is individual, a team effort. So individual could be like kicking or tackling, and team components could be switching from offense to defense several times during a game. So there's also decision making, so tactical components, and all of these demands therefore place pressure on players as in psychological skills. So with rugby only having 10-minute break in half time, coaches don't have the opportunity to give feedback during games. So this obviously means that coaches mentally preparing their players properly can completely affect an outcome of a game or performance of an individual. So a method that coaches could use is just general drills related to rugby. So this could literally be as simple as passing, line-out drills, simple contact areas. So doing these sorts of drills and exercises can build team relationships before a game. and can potentially boost performance as a squad and again as an individual. So doing this enhances imagery as well for the game. So again, supports the point of mental readiness for rugby players.
So I'm Nia, and I'll be talking about sports performance analysis and how a coach could use this to coach their professional rugby team before a season or before a game. So performance analysis is an objective way of recording performance so that key aspects of a performance can be quantified in a valid and consistent way. So how does this influence how a rugby coach will use this technique on his rugby team? Within sports performance analysis, the goal is to analyse technique, effectiveness, tactical performance, movement, and decision making, which are all key parts of a rugby game. A coach could use sports performance analysis of games previously played by the opposition to construct a tactical and technical scheme that his rugby team could use against them through prediction of movement and set plays. For example, a key part of a game, a line out. A coach could use match or tactical analysis of the line outs of the opposition, collect data about what the players use more often and which are more successful and unsuccessful. To make a decision, to then make a decision on how the team should play and what differences they can make to help predict their movement. A high level of detailed information can be collected and analysed to then be stored in databases. This is called data analysis. A coach could also use sports performance analysis to analyse his own team, specifically the effectiveness and the movement of his players. A coach will do this because to allow an increase in performance and successful results, what the coach is teaching and implemented into the games must be effective and have a positive outcome on the game. A good example of this is scrums in rugby. Scrummaging in rugby happens often and can be both effective and successful. If a coach has created a tactic of winning a scrum to get the ball out of the scrum as fast as possible and into play, yet is unsuccessful when implemented, then it is not effective and has a negative repercussion on the game. As well as this, the movement of the team can be analysed to look at the formation or how the players move when switching between attacking and defending. The coach can specifically pin where the movements are being successful and breaking down to then show the team and explain how to fix this.
I'll be talking about biomechanics and how a coach can use biomechanics to coach their players. So biomechanics is a biological and especially muscular activity. Coaches use biomechanics to provide systematic basis for modifying existing techniques and assess physical capacities necessary. This will help improve the players' performances of game skills and minimize the potential risk of injury. A good example of this is scrummaging. In rugby union, the scrum has been implicated in a large proportion of serious spinal injuries. The majority of injuries are found to occur at the engagement where the forces experienced by front row players can exceed the structural limits of the cervical spine. These large forces are consequences of the speed of engagement and the weight of players that are involved in the scrum. This highlights not only the need for physical preparation of all forwards, but particularly players' restraint at engagement. The hugger is the player that is exposed to the greatest loads throughout the scrum, which puts them the most at risk. Because of this, they should determine the timing of engagement of the two front rows. The stability of the scrum indicates the front two rows players' ability to utilise their strength to transmit the force to their opponents. A large part of players' efforts to generate force is lost in their coordinated effort in a scrum. It is presumed that these forces are used from players adjusting their bodies, which reinforces the preparation needed for these players to withstand large forces when scrummaging.
Okay, so I'll be talking about how biomechanics will reduce the risk of injury in a scrum. So biomechanical information can provide a systematic basis for modifying existing techniques and assessing their physical capacities necessary to efficiently and safely play in the scrum. This will both improve performance and game skills and minimize the potential of injury. There are 3 types of training that can improve biomechanical performance for a player that reduces the risk of injury in the scrum. The first of the training involves the hamstrings. This is important because there is an extreme amount of pressure put on the knees and hamstrings during the scrum. Hamstring training can be done to reduce the risk of injury, which is vital because the recovery from an ACL injury can take up to 9 months. From 2011 to 2015, the most common injury seen during the training was a hamstring strain, which highlights how important it is to try and avoid it. The training can be done by slow and controlled eccentric exercises such as leg presses, squats, and deadlifts. The second method is training shoulders. This will enhance shoulder stability, which is vital for forwards in the scrum. The shoulder joint is involved in many upper body exercises, which can lead to a lot of wear and tear. Poor exercise technique can contribute to shoulder problems. Shoulders can be trained by doing pull-ups and using a shoulder press. The third and final method that can be used to reduce the risk of injury is training the ankles and calves. It is vital that in the scrum, the players' ankles and calves are well supported due to the amount of strain they experience. This is why it's the most frequent injury for forwards in the front row, is the ankles and calves. Training can be done through calf raises and hill sprints.
Overall, all these components come together to make an impact on how a coach could influence a professional rugby team, both positively and negatively.
Yay.
Are we done? Oh,
Yeah. How long did that last?
um,
Half an hour.
I conked that out, didn't I, towards the end, but it was too late to restart.